This weekend at the International Conference on Masculinity, we have brought together activists, researchers, clinicians, funders, policymakers into a conversation about how we can engage boys and men to further the work that feminist women have been doing for so long.
I was really thrilled to see that accountability was the first panel, and I think that set a tone that we are going to be talking about accountable practice and working towards gender equality.
You know, we're 20 years since the Beijing Conference on Women. Women are now 40% of the workforce, and yet they still do 2 to 10 times the amount of care work and domestic work at home. Their pay is still about 1/5 less than men's around the world. About 1/3 experience violence. And we have growing awareness that if we don't engage men and boys in this, we don't finish the equation. We don't achieve the equality.
So one of the things that we're really clear with talking to men about is that this is not about rescuing or saving women, that women are totally capable of taking care of themselves. This is about men not being violent, and safety takes care of itself once we do that.
We know that marriages are happier when people share responsibilities. We know that children are better off when they have active fathers. This is not about us versus them. This is about men and women leaning in together and leaning on each other too.
I'm really excited to be in a space with people who are talking not just about masculinity as a singular concept, but as a dynamic concept that can be complicated and can embrace a full range.
We have the right people in the room. We have men and women together fighting for gender equality because this is a prize and a goal and a victory that belongs to all of us.
One of the things I've enjoyed while I've been here is to go to the poster sessions, to talk with you all during your panels and your oral presentations about the methods that you're using. It's one thing to say that you do research, but it's another thing to say that you do research with rigorous methods so that we can take activism and policy to the next level.
Throughout the decades, we've thought a lot and spoken a lot and done activism a lot around women instead of talking about gender and instead of talking about masculinity. Just as you can't talk about ending racism without talking about white people, you can't talk about ending sexism without talking about men.
I had to unpack that whole aspect of my gender journey, the role that men's wounds have played in making me who I am, and trying to join a movement that will figure it out. I think it's the most important part of the struggle.
I believe our mission as this generation in this century is to decisively address gender inequality. It is up to us whether we are going to fulfill or betray this mission.
You want to talk about militarism and not talk about masculinities? You want to talk about poverty and not talk about masculinity? The rugged individualist ideology that underpins so much of the callousness towards the poor is a gendered ideology? All this stuff is connected and intersecting, and there's a growing movement of men in this room and around the world working in collaboration with women in the global south and the global north who are making these connections, and this is a moment of possibility.
If you are an activist, you must believe change is possible. That is an optimistic position. If you are an academic, you must believe, I believe, that if I can inspire my students to engage critically with their world, their lives will be better for it. That is an optimistic posture.
I go out in Central Park and put my hands on the rocks there, on the big igneous rocks, and I think someone else touched this and they live differently. And if they live differently, so can we. They understood that the human race is like a bird with 2 wings, and if one is broken, no one can fly. I thank everyone for coming to this conference because you are helping the human race to fly again.